All right, class, take a look at the board. I hope you remember this chart right here that I had written out in the classroom about middle of the year. Well, I told you back then that you started learning these values back in kindergarten. In kindergarten, you were taught that there's such a thing as a penny. Then you were taught that it is worth 1 cent. In second grade, you were taught that that's how you write it, 1 cent. And then in third grade, I taught you guys that it can be written as a $ with a decimal point. Same thing with a nickel. You learned about a nickel. You know that it's worth 5 cents. You can write it with a cent sign. And then in third grade, I taught you how to use it with a decimal sign. And same thing with a dime. It's worth 10 cents, written as 10 cents like this, or if you're a third grader, you're going to write it as a $, decimal 10. And then a quarter is 25 cents, and you can write it like this, or you can write it as a $, decimal 25. Pay attention that you don't confuse 10 cents with 1 penny. 1 penny, the 1 is in the hundredths place, and the 1 for the dime is in the tenths place. Okay, they have their own place values. So today we're going to take this knowledge, take what you know about coins. You're going to combine it with what we learned parentheses for. We've learned about parentheses. You've also learned, you guys remember yesterday's story problem where Linda and her brother were making a birthday party for their mom? And it said that they bought 5 colas worth $1.09 each. So to figure out how much all those 5 colas were worth, you multiplied it by 5. And that's how you got your $5.45 worth. My board is shaking. There. Okay, so you're going to take all this knowledge, the parentheses knowledge, and multiplying decimals to do this right here. Okay? Now, this is a little bit different than anything you've done so far. So pay really close attention. I'm going to walk you through it. This is how you do it. You're going to figure out how much dimes are. You're going to use the third grade way of writing a dime, and you're going to multiply it by 3 dimes. Just like you did here. You're going to use parentheses to show that 3 dimes is written in math like this. 3 times 0.10. Okay? But you have to put it in parentheses because this multiplication stands on its own. You're not going to subtract 2 from it. Okay? You are going to take this concept right here, 2 nickels, and you're going to show me in math. Because in math, we don't write it in kindergarten way anymore, do we? We're not going to write 2 nickels like this. We're going to write it third grade way. And we're going to say that 2 nickels is the same as 2 times 0.05. Like that. And we're going to put this in their own parentheses. Because 2 nickels has nothing to do with 3 dimes. We're going to subtract it way later. Okay? And then we're going to find the value of 12 pennies. Well, look at what we did here. And see if you can figure out how to write pennies the third grade way. We need 12 of them. So what are you going to do? Think hard. See if this is what you were going to do. You're going to take 12 and multiply it by the value of 1 penny. How much is 1 penny? How do you write 1 penny in third grade? You write 0.01. And you're going to put this in parentheses as well. Okay? And then we can figure out how much is 3 dimes, 2 nickels, and 12 pennies. Okay, so 10 3 times is your 30. That's easy. You already know how much 3 dimes is, right? And you are going to write it as a decimal point with a dollar value. Then you're going to write 2 nickels. What's 2 fives? It's a 10. So you're going to write 10, put its decimal sign there. Don't forget the dollar sign. There's your 10. And then 12 pennies. 12 ones is just 12 with your decimal point right there. There you go. Okay, so now do you think you can subtract and then add? 30 cents minus 10 cents. There's your 20 cents. We're going to write this just like we do in equations. The answer goes down. Answer goes down. Okay? 30 minus 10, and then we're going to add 12 cents to it. Can you figure it out? 20 plus 12? There's your 32. Don't forget to write your dollar sign. 32. And also, don't forget to put this answer up here. Good. So this is very, very easy basic knowledge that you should already be able to figure out by now. We're going to get harder and harder. When we start working on page 255, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. So pay attention as I do this one on the board. Even if you think you got it, keep paying attention so that you don't get lost when it gets harder, okay? So we have 3 quarters and 3 nickels. This is how Miss K maybe writes it for her first graders, but you're in 3rd grade. So you have to write it as in the third grade way. So how do you write 3 quarters as a decimal? You write 3 times the value of 1 quarter. How much is 1 quarter? Which one of these would you write? 1 quarter is 0.25, so that's what you write right there. 0.25. What do I do to show that this multiplication has to be done first and by itself? I put parentheses around it. There you go. And then I'm going to figure out the value of 3 nickels. How do I write 3 nickels? I write it 3 times the value of a nickel. 0.05. Okay, there we go. Okay, now this was easy. You could really quickly figure out 12 pennies and just write 0.12 right there. But sometimes it gets a little harder, and if you don't know the value real quick, what you could do is quietly multiply down here and figure it out. 3 times 5, there's your 5, carry 1, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And that's where your 75 comes in. So 3 quarters, 3 times 0.25 equals 0.75. There's your answer for this one. So this is how you can make it easier for yourself and multiply down this way if you don't know it right off the top of your head. Okay, so 3 quarters is 75 cents. Let's do that same thing right here. 3 times 05. We're going to put this 3 here. 3 times 5. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1. And there's our 15 cents. So 3 nickels is 15 cents. Don't forget your decimal point because this would look like $15 instead of 15 cents. And 3 nickels is not $15. So make sure that you have that right. So we have, what process are we going to do with 75 minus 15 cents? We are going to subtract 75 minus 15, and you could use this space to subtract 15 if you don't know it off the top of your head. So 15, 75, there they are. subtract them. 75 minus 5. 5 minus 5 is 0, and 7 minus 1 is 6. Don't forget your decimal. 75 minus 15 equals 60? 60 diapers? Am I done? Is 60 my answer? No. Make sure that you label it and put your decimal point in there. And put your answer up here as well. 60 cents. So 3/4 minus 3 nickels is going to be 60 cents. Okay, so let's do 6 nickels plus 3 dimes on page 255, 1A. 6 nickels and 3 dimes. So this is, like I said, this is your first grade way of writing 6 nickels. Third grade way, you're going to write 6 times the value of 1 nickel. How much is 1 nickel the third grade way? It's $0.05. Because there's 6 of them, we're going to multiply. And we are going to keep this in parentheses because it has to be done within itself. And then 3 dimes, you're going to write it as 3 times the value of 1 dime. And you're going to find it and you're going to write the value of 1 dime and put that in parentheses. You're not going to add 0.05 plus 3. You're going to have to separate them because they don't go together. If there were no parentheses, you would think that these go right after the other, but they don't. You have to put those parentheses and then solve going down just like we do in equations. So 6 times 0.5, you could just multiply 5 times 6 and get your 30. Or if you didn't know it, you could multiply it like this. 6 times 5, carry your 3. 6 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is your 30. So that's how much 6 nickels is worth. 30 cents. Don't forget to use your $sign. And then 3 dimes. I bet you could figure this out in your head. 3 tens. 10, 10, 10 is another 30. There it is. Don't forget your $sign. And your decimal point. 3 dimes is not $30, it's 30 cents. Don't forget your decimal. Right there. So now you're just going to add 30 and 30. That's easy. 3 plus 3 is your 6. And you don't forget the zeros and your decimal and your $sign. So that's it right there. 0.60. Good job. All right, now 1B. Says 5 dimes minus 15 pennies. Okay, if I hadn't taught you this, you might think that, how do I subtract 5 minus 15? You don't. You have to convert 5 dimes to how much it's worth and 15 pennies to how much it's worth. So we're going to do our third grade multiplication. How much is 1 dime? It is $.10. And we're going to multiply it by 5 because there's 5 dimes. We have 1 dime, but there are 5 of them. Okay, and then you're going to figure out 15 pennies. You're going to write 15 times, what's the, $sign first. What's the value of a penny? 0.01 in parentheses. And only then subtract. So figure out 5 of the tens. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 5 of them. That's your 50 cents. That's super easy. And then 15 pennies. 15 times 1 is still 15. Decimal point, $sign. Okay, so 50 minus 15. If you can't figure it out like this in your head, you could subtract it like this and put 0 minus 5. This will be a 4, and that's a 10. There's your 5, and 4 minus 1 is your 30. Don't forget your decimal sign or decimal point, and then 50 minus 15 equals 35. And put the answer up here too. There you go. Okay. 2A is 2-step story problem, and 2B story problem is 3 steps. How many date bars are there as cookies? That's 1/3 as much as cookies, and then figure out how much in all. And then for 2B, Joey and Blake have 32 marbles. Mark has a quarter as the both of them. So you have to figure out how much marbles Joey and Blake have together, and then take that number and figure out 1/4 of that to know how much Mark has. And then you will have Joey, Blake, and Mark's together for your final answer. Okay?